How can you make a difference? Number one, pray the Rosary. St. Padre Pio said the greatest weapon against the devil we have is the Rosary. Try it. See for yourself. I don't need to sell it. God doesn't need me to sell anything. Do not let mainstream media's shallow depictions of sexuality and sexual irresponsibility deceive you into thinking that such an approach to love and relationships is without consequences. It isn't. And this is part of the systemic issue that brings us here today. Just as God is real, Satan is also real. And I'm not talking about the simplistic cartoon of some dude with horns and a tail. I'm talking about the father of lies, the great deceiver, the diabolical slanderer who pushes you to doubt when you know in your heart the right thing to do. And he is not about to give up this fight either. In fact, he's doubling down because guess what? His time is limited. So he's throwing everything that he has at the world and all of us in it. And countless are being deceived as a result. But that's his job. He wants your and my destruction. He wants us to believe that abortion does not harm us individually and as a society. So please, I beg of you, pray for those who do not have the faith, the strength, the clarity of purpose that you here do. People ask me, how do you try to emulate Jesus in your own life when playing him? Well, loving my enemies, praying for those who persecute me and those who may protest me, is the first place that I have to start. But remember, my dear friends, we know how the story ends. God won.
I was really, really impressed that he said the first thing that we can do to make a difference is pray the Rosary. I totally agree. I pray the Rosary every night with my family, and it makes such a difference. So please share this video with people that you know that are fans of The Chosen, that are not Catholic, and those that are, encourage us to pray the Rosary. It's a game changer. A lot of bold words that he had here. Oftentimes actors beat around the bush, and he was very direct. So it's so inspiring to see someone who really has a lot to potentially lose being so direct. So massive props there. I've had a chance to meet him and spend some time with him. As you saw, he talked about the reality of Satan. Later on in the video, he talks about social media impacts. He really hits so many great points, and really grateful for his courage to speak this way, because it's typically not seen in that type of fashion from those on his level. So I'm gonna do highlights from all of the March for Life speeches that'll come out on Wednesday, so make sure you're subscribed so that you'll be notified when that comes out. There are some really amazing ones, and I'll have links to the full talks there, but just so you can see a highlight, because there's a lot of them. And here's a few more highlights from Jonathan.
For some time now, we have been witnesses to a mounting polarity between light and dark. We've seen it manifest itself in many facets of culture. But I would like to address it as I see it as an artist in the entertainment industry. In the last several years, there's been a sharp and disturbing increase in the darkness of the imagery being used in film, television, and music. The landscape has become increasingly sinister, and in some cases, even demonic in tone, more so than in previous years, sometimes subliminal, oftentimes overt. Storylines involving the occult, witchcraft, demons, and even satanic elements are commonplace in mainstream programming. Many feature spiritually and psychologically disturbing content. And before you jump on me, no, I'm not specifically referencing a certain bespectacled wizard, though a few folks might disagree, but I'm referring to the media which is even more ominous. And I don't need to name names, you know it when you see it. The youngest of us, and the most vulnerable, as well as those who are not grounded in a solid faith in God, are susceptible to the influences of these images. Media has become a portal to behavior and attitudes kids want to emulate that reject God, reject the light, and reject ultimately all those aspects of community which give life. I have observed God subtly but radically being removed from popular culture over the last couple of decades, replaced with some of the most corruptive images and ideologies for young hearts and minds. And any of us who profess any kind of faith are branded as fundamental or condemned for their beliefs with the assertions of the religiosity of a Pharisee. This is completely contrary to what it means to have a relationship with Jesus Christ and follow his teachings. Social media sites rife with images of hypersexuality, predominantly young women some of them who are major influencers, give the youngest of our digitally consuming generation the impression that that is how you're supposed to look, that this is how you're supposed to think and feel and act to get what you want, to get who you want, to be what you're supposed to be, as if some fantasy of aesthetic perfection is the road to happiness. It is not. Your imperfections were perfectly designed by God in heaven. As if by objectifying yourself, you will somehow be empowered. That is an empty lie of the enemy. The only way to empower yourself is to believe in the greatness of who you are, flaws and all, the gifts you bring into this world that God freely gave you, the uniqueness of your precious life, and to share them with one another. That is your legacy. That is your power. That is who you are meant to be. And that is how you will change the world. Do not let mainstream media's shallow depictions of sexuality and sexual irresponsibility deceive you into thinking that such an approach to love and relationships is without consequences. It isn't. And this is part of the systemic issue that brings us here today. I know how difficult it can be to think differently, to swim against the current, to choose life in a culture that celebrates death. You know, standing here saying these things to you now is neither the obvious career choice nor an easy decision for me, because I've never set foot in this arena before, publicly. But ultimately, I had no choice. This guy made me do it.
Please like and share this video. Have a blessed day, and God love you.